Hi, and welcome back to even more K-Sports Sunday. Before we get into it, I want to give a shout out to all my friends in Louisiana, Texas, New Mexico, and Oklahoma. What's up, guys? I can't believe it's been like 2 months since I saw you, and I want to give a shout out to my brother, whose 14th birthday is on Tuesday. Okay, so yesterday, Max Block sat down with the boisterous Jimmy Myers, always has something on his mind, and they talked some college basketball, including how it could be affected by a possible NBA lockout. Let's take a look.
Hi everybody, I'm Max Block for YBA, joined alongside Jimmy Myers. And so as we wrap up the 2011 NCAA season for basketball, we send out a special congratulations to the Huskies of Connecticut for their championship. Great win for them. But as we look forward to next season in college basketball, there's that looming thought of a possible NBA lockout. And when you think about the NBA and the effects that a lockout could have on college basketball, it's just drastic.
It's very interesting, Max, particularly as we're looking at the NFL current lockout and all that's going on there, and the players union in the NFL, PA decertifying, what would happen with the situation in the NBA if their players association decertified, and the effect it will have on college basketball is major because it will impact the players that are in school that we're thinking about coming out, the players that are going in school that want to be one and out guys. It's definitely going to affect them because now they'll probably stay 2 years, so the lockout or the situation will be over. What if they actually messed it up, which I don't think David Stern and the group there, Max, I don't think they're going to let that happen. I think that they're much more progressive in negotiations as to how they would do things. I just don't think that the NBA will allow a lockout like football has. But if it did, you're right, it would grossly impact the college game. Right. Because so many of these young players are one and out, the real good ones. Mm-hmm. I mean, a Kyrie Irving is a perfect example from Duke. Right. This guy only played 11 games, but he was so good, he will be a first-round draft pick. Yep. And he's at Duke. That's an education, supposed to be an education school. He decides, I'm going to the NBA because I proved enough even on a broken foot. What if I come back here and break this foot again? What if bad things happen? It's time for me to go on. So he's a one and done. Mm-hmm. But with a lockout, as you said, if a lockout occurs, all of that changes. Everything changes, and the whole dynamic becomes incredibly dramatic for college basketball. You're right.
And as a college basketball fan, I'm a huge fan. When I look at the talent level in college basketball, if there is an NBA lockout, look at last year. Look at a team like Kentucky. They were a Final Four team this year. If they could have kept some of the players they sent to the NBA, John Wall, Eric Bledsoe,
Cousins,
DeMarcus Cousins. Mm-hmm. You think about them bringing all of those players back,
my gosh.
plus the freshmen that they've had in. They're sort of the program that recently has seemed to get their freshmen and send them off and get a whole new class. They've got the best recruiting class next year with a bunch of players, Gilchrist, everyone coming in. If you look at a team like that, which could save some of their young players, plus bring in their new recruits, it would be a whole different level of play.
It would be a different dynamic. It would be a different dynamic completely, Max, because they would have to be the overwhelming favorites to win the NCAA championship.
They already are.
I'm just saying with that much talent there. But remember, you could possibly win two. Let's say there's a protracted lockout or a protracted situation with the NBA that would overlap some of those guys either going into September or going into the next year. And I got to go back to school. I have to be seen. I have to make sure that my stock value stays high. I already played 1 year. Maybe I'll go back and play another year. Right. And that would have a major impact. But I'm also looking at the fact that sometimes that much talent, if you have 10 guys that can play,
it can get in their heads.
Yeah, and they all want playing time. I mean, who's to say the chemistry would have worked with those 5 first-round draft picks that came out, coming back with a young group of guys coming in saying, hey, I want to play out. I'm as good as he is. I think I can outplay this guy. And that's where your coaching comes in. John Calipari has his own issues, but I would look at that to say sometimes most coaches will say you can never have too much talent. But I still think it's the blend of talent and the willingness of people to sacrifice that makes championship teams.
And so last question, wrapping it up. The NBA lockout, it's still a possibility. Football hasn't really had the best way about it. Do you think that David Stern and the NBA and the players, they're going to be able to work this out, or do you think that a lockout's a serious factor in this?
I believe it's a serious factor, Max. But at the same time, David Stern has gotten tremendous credit over the last several years of being the best commissioner in sports, period, hands down. He is supposedly a very strong negotiator. We're going to find out. We will see how good they are.
Will the players
at
decertify their
business.
union?
There's a possibility of it. You have to look at the fact of guys that it would be the owners would have the right to dump contracts if this occurred or it went down like this. That means a Paul Pierce may lose the $24 million that he has coming to him,
right,
but he can make more if the league restructures or when they come back. Everybody's a free agent. They can start going where they want to go. You'd be building super teams better than Miami.
NBA Renaissance.
Better than Miami. You could actually, the rich owners or the owners with great wealth in that league, a Jerry Buss at Los Angeles, a Paul Allen in Portland.
Right.
They could start, if they could pick up talent like this, just free agents. But that's why I don't think it's going to happen, because it would radically alter the structure of the NBA.
It wouldn't be the same.
There's no question of that. But the whole thing would be, it would be chaos. And I just don't think that David Stern is the kind of commissioner that's going to allow that to happen on his watch. He would say, look, guys, we will stay in this room until we figure out what's going to happen. Now, the NBA owners claim that lost a lot of money. Okay, we always hear that claim. But I think somewhere along the line, I think they'll find a way to reach a better understanding than the NFL owners. And the sad part is there's much more money on the table for the NFL. There's $9 billion sitting there, and the players and the owners can't figure out how to divvy it up. I mean, I don't think there's $9 billion on the NBA table, but even if there was or there is, I think my confidence in David Stern is that he'll figure out a way to get it done.
And so only time will tell for this issue.
Amen to that.
For Jimmy Young, I'm Max Block. It's always great to talk about this, and we'll catch you next time.
Okay, and welcome back now to some college basketball talk. I can't believe it was only Monday that UConn beat Butler in the national championship, but it was so, this being the first Sunday since. We haven't had a chance to talk about that game. I picked UConn the whole tournament, so I was happy, but I just want to say one thing. Butler, you shot 15% in the national championship game. Seriously, go look at yourselves right now. You shot 15%. UConn played a terrible game, but they won. There is no reason that team should have won. That game will go down as the worst. Their games, remembered, basketball games. You have the game with the shot. You have Chris Webber's timeout game. The games that go to a name, that lend themselves to history. This game will lend itself to history as the worst basketball game ever played, especially by Butler. UConn did not play their best, but they were lucky to get the win facing this Butler team. 2 years in a row. You'd think you would have learned last year what you did wrong. To come out and play like that. 2 points in the paint. 2 points in the paint. It's called a high percentage shot for a reason. The only excuse to get 2 points in the paint in a professional or college basketball game is to take one shot from the paint. 2 points in the paint is ridiculous. And to take 23 three-pointers, I know you're a good team, but it's worth extra points because it's a harder shot. You shouldn't rely on it. I was watching the Globetrotters yesterday. They had a 4-point shot. It's worth more points if it's harder. The 4-point shot was further out. If the three's not working, go to something else. If your car is on fire, you don't keep driving to hope to put the fire out. You stop and you get a fire extinguisher. I'm glad UConn won, but something serious needs to be done at Butler with that coaching after letting that game happen like that, especially in a second national championship. I understand if it's last year, you're a young team without experience who didn't expect to be there. But 2 years in a row, you should be ready to step up to the plate and do what you need to do. I was looking forward to a good game. Instead, I was about to fall asleep the whole time. Guys, anything to add?
I think he said all in a matter of 1 minute of anger. Butler played a horrible game. If I told you UConn would score, 55 points was scored by UConn? They were below 50% average, you would say, wow, whoever they're playing, they're going to lose. Butler, 15% as he said. Horrible. No excuse. No excuse at all to what they did. You got to get on your big boy shoes and play basketball the way it's supposed to play, especially in the national championship game. If you watch the pregame, every single one, or not every single one, 1 out of 5 people on the pregame show for CBS picked Butler. They have the 1 year experience, I know 1 year, but they almost won last year, just a little bit away from Matt Howard's shot. You got to make the points in the paint, as Alex said. 2 points. 2 points. Our Sudbury 2 team scores more points than Butler. Butler in a game, especially in the paint. Inexcusable. Come on, man.
Alex, anything to add?
Wow. Just wow. Butler, that was just awful, okay? I mean, it's inexcusable to be scoring 2 in the paint. Everything that you did in that game is inexcusable. You were the team with the advantage. You had been there the year before. You had beat Pitt, a 1 seed, to get to the finals. You beat the team that beat Kansas to get into the finals, and you lose. You shoot 15%. There's no more to say. That was just awful. Come on.
And I mean, Kemba Walker, he was strong, but not that strong. He didn't have a Kemba night where he goes on for like 50, 60, points. Kemba, they got, the Butler got him down good. And the offense is just the game. Terrible. Terrible offense. You look forward to the games. I know, it's like the old basketball guys. They're like, oh, great game, great defense, pound them, stuff. But like the offense there, really, I could see better.
It wasn't even like UConn played good defense either. It was they just didn't have it. In this Cinderella story, instead of getting the prince, they got the fat nerdy guy named second place. All right, now we're going to go to something that's become a tradition here at YBA. We call it the Sports Challenge. We toss out some sports knowledge, and we see how our guys here at YBA and girls can answer. After that, make sure you stick around because we'll talk some Celtics. But first, here is the Sports Challenge.